Somebody is writing to me. Maybe they are not able to join. Should we start? It's 5-6 minutes gone.
I think that's where I think we should, whoever has joined in.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that'll be only appropriate, Vinitha. I know there has been some, error in.
Okay. Are we recording? Yeah. How is it I don't see myself?
I saw you for a second.
But here it shows it is closed. But my camera is on. Oh.
Now I can see you again. What happened?
Again it's closed.
Yeah.
Why? But I see only you. I don't see myself. Why?
But I can see you. So if you have one view, maybe you're able to see, maybe when you click on the two view, so then you can see me and yourself as well.
What is the two view now?
So when you look at the screen on the top, there is an icon which one dash, one screen and two screens. So if you click on that two screen, maybe you'll be able to see me as well.
No, there is no such thing for me. I'm seeing you through my phone.
But which kind of a view do you?
So let me see if I can.
I think it will be the view issue, I think, because I can see you very clearly.
Okay. Okay, so
If you
start.
slide, maybe if you're looking at us in the phone, maybe you need to just slide and you should be able to see everybody.
No. I don't know. Anyway, let's start. That doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome from the Center of Excellence, Makers of the Future, Kolkata. We've had the proud privilege of having this workshop on happy back and happy life because today, in day and age, I think it's become mandatory for all of us to stay happy. And to stay happy, I think it is very essential that we have a good health. Now, when we talk of health, I think there are a lot of issues, and we have dealt with many of the issues that we have faced during the pandemic over a period of time. And the most important now, I feel, is the problem of being the back. Now, since we work for longer hours as being at home, we tend to work more and we become more workaholics. We keep sitting at a place and we do not move around much. Not much of an exercise where in our workplace we would have to climb stairs or to run around the floor, or run to catch a bus, or wait to get a seat. I think gone are those days. We don't need to do that. And for last past 8 to 9 months, we've been at home, all across continents, all across the globe. So we've started having a lot of other problems, um, which I feel are really worth addressing. Now, we talk of the back. Why? Because when a child is born, it becomes uh, he starts walking, and that is the time he starts realizing the worth of his back. you know uh, as the child grows, loads on his back increase. I say this in jest because we carry all the loads on our back, and had it not been for the back, we wouldn't have known how much we can carry. I mean, in the funnier sense, we carry all our loads on our back, whether it is our mental load or our physical load. And if you notice, there is a lot of proverbs that we use, like you show your back. Why? Because you can shoulder yourself, or you can protect yourself from the enemies. So God has given us the back to not only carry the load but also shoulder ourselves, so that when people give you a lot of criticism, you're able to shoulder it. Now, back to the story. If you notice, in this pandemic, there are 9 out of 10 people who are suffering from back problem, and it has become, as per WHO, uh, across continents, people are not having right postures. They are not, they are stooping because they are having to work through a laptop or a phone or a mobile device. That includes children, that includes teachers who are facing this problem. And because of this, a lot of other ancillary problems have started. They have had eyesight problems, they have had problems at the neck, they have had problems at the knees, because they are sitting for long. And if you find people who sit for long, the legs start swelling. So there are a lot of other issues also which have started as of now. And I was reading the WHO guidelines, which says that after every half an hour you should do a little bit of exercise and then come back and sit, and not sit regularly at one place at a given point. But if you notice, most of us who are working people, we do not get up, not even to get fetch yourself a bottle of water. You keep it everything next to yourself so that you just stretch yourself and get it, but not realizing for stretching how much of it affects our back. It's our posture, it is the way we conduct ourselves, lead us to lot of other ailments and problems. And how best to handle is going to be discussed by two young directors from across Smiles. One is Ruchika Patni, and other is Mr. Anand Goel. Both of them have been with us, and they have been launched by me on various platforms on various occasions. And they have taken us through various ways in which we could save our back from being hurt. They have been instrumental in giving us tips and taking us through various yoga postures which I'm sure will take us through the next year happily. So all over to Ruchika and Anand for the end of the year session.
So thank you very much, Vinita ji. So just a brief introduction about yourself. I think, there are some people who have joined from here as well. So she is the CEO and the founder director of the Center of Excellence, the Kingmakers of the Future Calcutta. So she's doing a great work in terms of organizing several webinars, connecting people, bringing them the right knowledge. So getting people from all across the world. So I'm sitting in Singapore today. So she's getting people from all across the world to come and share their knowledge to the people so that they can benefit, even while, things are not available in Corona, there's less accessibility, but she's connected everybody through this online platform. So excellent work. She's received several awards as well. I don't know how many now. I think I cannot even count in my fingers any longer, but I think she's just keeps getting awards. I think like every few days, I think she has one award, but she really deserves this. There's a lot of hard work that goes in, to organize this. One program by itself is a big event. So, hats off to Vinita ji, and you certainly deserve all of this. So
Thank you.
today's topic is on back pain, and I think you've covered quite a bit of why we have these issues. But first I will get Anand to actually start talking, about the back issues, and then I will take it up with the back practices and a little bit about the anatomy of the spine as well, so that everybody can understand how to keep your back, healthy. So I'll pass it on to Anand.
Thank you, Ruchika, and thank you, Benita ji, for this
Welcome.
opportunity. Now, obviously, you have a slide which talks about me. I mean, talks about what I do as a profession. As you can see, I'm a banker. So obviously, this topic of back pain is very, very close to my heart because, as you can understand, sitting 14, 16 hours on the desk in bad postures, completely wrong postures, has done a lot to my back over the past few years. But I think ever since I got introduced to yoga and this particular module of how to correct your back pain and relieve it, it has really cured me of back pain. Uh, Cured obviously to the extent that if you keep regularly doing these yoga postures on a daily basis, it helps you to keep a very, very, as the topic says, happy back, happy life. So with that, I'll move on to the next slide. So I think before we start talking about back pain, I wanted to start with a quote because there's a lot of information about back pain. A lot of people have very false information about back pain. So I wanted to start with the quote which says, back pain is a symptom and not a disease. A lot of people think back pain to be a disease, but it's actually a symptom of something else. Now, obviously, most of you would know what a symptom is and what a disease is. If you are thirsty, if you are having a headache, if you are feeling dizzy, if you're feeling tired, if you're having cramps, or if you're feeling weak, those are called symptoms, but that's not a disease. COVID can be called a disease, but there are various symptoms about it. You can have a fever, you can feel weak, you are not able to breathe. So I wanted to start with this slide to explain that back pain is a symptom of some other disease, which could be anything. It could be related to a lot of things, some of which will be covered by Ruchika. It is actually a symptom and not a disease. It just comes up as a symptom in your lower, middle, or upper back. So the question is, we have this symptom called backache. The question is, in modern life, why do we experience backache? What is the reason? I mean, if you look at 15, 20, 25 years old year back, if you talk about your grandparents or their parents, you wouldn't really hear about back pain complaints so much. So there is something which has happened over the last 20 years, which has caused back pain to creep into a modern day lifestyle. So what is it? Obviously, as I mentioned, it is a very, very common problem of modern day lifestyle. Why? Number one, because we have cushiony beds, pillows, and seats. The spine is supposed to be aligned most of the time, either when you sit or either when you sleep. But nowadays, when you sleep on very soft beds, when you sleep on very high pillows, you are actually misaligning your spine. The weight distribution on your back is not the same all the time. So you are kind of like ill treating your spine even at rest. When it is supposed to get the rest, you are still resting in the wrong position, wrong beds, soft beds. So that leads to spinal problems. Then comes wrong posture. Look at how you guys are sitting right now. I can't look at it because obviously I can only see Vinita ji. But most of the people after a long day will sit in the office with the back, neck to the backrest, sometimes with the head against the neck rest, or some would just slouch and sit. These are all wrong postures, and I'm going to talk to you about wrong postures in the coming slides as to how that affects the back. Third, mobile phones and devices. I mean, they are everywhere, right? Every person on the street is literally walking with their head down. People even when they are sitting in a social circle are not looking at each other straight. They're actually looking at mobile phones. So that is causing a lot of back pain. Overweight, obviously huge problem because it increases weight on your legs, leading to back pain. Sedentary lifestyle, of course, it is very sedentary. As Binita ji said, the WHO guide is to get up every 30 minutes. In fact, now I'm wearing this watch. It tells me every 1 hour to get up. I mean, can you believe it? I have electronic devices on my wrist, which tells me you have not gotten up for 1 hour. So please get up and do one round and walk for 2 minutes and come back. Uh, Weak back muscles, obviously, people don't train their back muscles get weak. People could have injuries, and then obviously stress, which again, I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. But let's start with wrong postures. Now, what is exactly a wrong posture? Now, I can guarantee, including me, 99% of the people sit in either one, two, or three. Very few people would sit in posture four all the time. It is actually impossible because if you are sitting in this posture all the time, the moment something stressful comes up, your boss tells you something, your colleague tells you something, your client tells you something, all that alignment goes for a toss. So obviously, poor posture in modern day life is a huge concern and a reason for back pain. Keeping again with postures, again, if you look at it, people slouch, as I said, people would bring their books too close to each other, people would relax again too much. People are not sitting upright. So not only while working, even while reading, you can look at it, even while people are using their tablets, because the cervical, which is the top region around the neck, is always bent, it leads to a lot of bad postures and back pain. Then what do we see with kids these days? Kids or adults, even when people are standing, people are not standing correctly, right? On the left is what you see as a good posture, but then people would either stand with an anterior pelvic tilt, which the buttock push behind or push forward, or sometimes even on the side. In fact, if you look at a lot of people when they stand, the weight is not equally distributed on both the legs. Some people just stand on the right leg, some people could just be standing on the left leg, and it could be various reasons, maybe because the right leg is stronger, the left leg is stronger, but the weight normally would go to the weakest point and it causes problem. So that is what we call about postures. Next, when you do day-to-day life, we need to pick up a lot of stuff, either from the ground, heavy stuff, moving stuff. Now, a lot of times people experience immense back pain the moment they lift something heavy. Now, obviously, one of the prime reasons is because we are so busy in our modern life where do not have the right way to go down, come to the level of the weight, pick it up slowly, and keep it on the side. We are all picking up it up the wrong way. In fact, the one place where people always make mistakes is airports. Obviously, people have not seen an airport for a long time in this COVID time. So I think a lot of people don't have this problem. But the biggest problem people have in airports is they go to the conveyor belt, one sweep with the left hand or right hand, and they pick up something heavy. And I've had so many cases where people go pick it up one sweep and they pull a muscle and they say this caused it, or they lift something heavy and they say, oh, my back gave away because I lifted something heavy. The truth is, even though they lifted something heavy, that is just the tipping point which has given them that back pain. Because if you look at the muscles of the back, these are all the muscles in your back which support your spinal cord. If you are not sitting straight, if you are not training your lower back muscles, if you are not training your thoracic muscles or your lumbar muscles or your cervical muscles on a day-to-day basis, over a period of time, these muscles get weak. There is not enough blood circulation which goes into these muscles because you're not
Mm.
using them. You're not sitting in the right posture. And
Maybe
eventually what
we should tell them where is the thoracic and where is the
Correct.
other.
So Ruchika will be covering that
Okay.
as soon as I finish this year. So she will be going through all of that. But what I'm trying to say is these muscles become very, very weak. And then eventually, if you enter into a wrong posture where you need to use these muscles extremely well, like picking up something really heavy, that is when they give away and snap. So whatever happens at that time when people say, oh, I pulled a back muscles or my back gave way or I had a slip disc, is a result of what has happened over a period of time. Over a period of time, your muscles have become weak. Over a period of time, they have not been trained. Hence, that becomes the tipping point for it to cause back pain. Now, one important reason why back pain is becoming very prevalent in society these days is stress. Now, you might ask me how stress is related to back pain. Now, some of you might have attended the session 1 or 2 weeks back, which was on stress management. And the basic concept of stress management is when you are always in a heightened state of stress, you are always very alert. Your eyes dilate, your breathing rate goes up, your blood circulation starts pumping very hard. You start breathing very, very heavily, and your muscles become absolutely tensed, right? Absolutely tensed. And when your muscles become tensed and they remain in this stressed and tense position all the time, and they are not allowed to relax back, that is when they become weak. It is not that if you carry heavy weight, you become weak. Look at an example of a coolie, the porter. Every day he's carrying very, very heavy weight on his head, but it is in the proper alignment. Their muscles are strong. They don't generally complain of back pain. But today, if a common man is traveling and he or she cannot find a porter and the back muscles are not trained, the moment they try and lift something heavy and carry it up or down, their back snaps. Now, since we're talking about back pain, I wanted to introduce this concept as to why do animals not suffer from back pain and why do humans suffer from back pain. And the concept is very, very scientific. If you look at an animal, most of the animals are four-legged. So when you have a weight with a lower center of gravity, it is distributed across four legs. Whereas if you look at humans, all their weight comes down to two legs, right? So we have all this weight from the head to the chest area going down, all supported on two legs. Hence, it is a lot of weight for these legs to carry, and it might go and result in a back pain. Now, the thing is, we have been given only two legs, but we make it worse. How? Women make it worse by wearing heels, right? You have this weight distributed on two legs. You raise two legs, and now you put all the weight on just your toes. That's a lot of weight to carry on your toes. And which is why, if you do this over a consistently long time, it will result in back pain. Second, you look at lifestyle. What are we doing on a day to day life? Everybody is becoming, or a lot of people are becoming obese because of the junk food they eat, because of all the fried food they eat, because of lack of exercise, lack of workout.
Always
That is,
sitting.
yes, idle sitting. When the weight increases, where is the weight going? The weight is going on through the same lower back to the same legs. So if you keep on increasing the weight your legs and the back have to support, and your back is weak, obviously it leads to back pain, which is why, remember my first slide, I said the back pain is a symptom. It is not a disease, right? In fact, obesity is a disease. And as you see from the slide, back pain is just a symptom or a side effect of it. So I've given you a broad introduction as to what is causing back pain. but to understand more the technical aspects as to how the spine is structured and what we can do to actually alleviate this back pain, I'm going to hand it back over to Ruchika.
So, okay. So like Vinita ji said, I need to cover on the anatomy. So that's the first thing that I will be doing before I get into the practices or what we can do, which is what you all want to know here. Sorry, just 1 second.
No, I said because, many people may not understand. So it's best we are starting from the beginning so that they understand.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinita ji. Just 1 second. Sorry for that. Okay. So I have my slides up here. So for the anatomy, you can see the picture of the spine here. So the spinal vertebral column is divided into 5 types. So Anand has been talking about the cervical, the thoracic. So you can see it clearly here that we have 7 cervical segments. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Okay. And this is the C1 to C7 vertebrae, which is in the neck region. Then you have the 12 thoracic segments that you can see. That's the central part of the backbone, which
That's
is
in violet color.
That's right, in violet color, right? Thank you so much, Vinita ji. Yes. So that's the T1 to T12, which you can actually see. And then you have below in yellow is the 5 lumbar segments, which is from L1 to L5. Now, this is the lower back. Then followed by the green color, which is the 5 sacral segments, S1 to S5, which is fused. And then 4 coccyx segments, which is also fused. So I'm not going to go very much into details about this, just explaining so that you can understand the terminology. That's the idea of this. Then the vertebral column, it extends from the skull, like you can see, to the pelvis, through which it is transferring the weight of the head and the trunk to the legs. Now this vertebral column, it is surrounding and it is protecting the spinal cord, which you can see in the picture, the red color thing. That's the spinal cord, which is running from the base of the brain. Now, why is it important to protect the spinal cord? You can see these nerves that are coming out of it. Now, these are the main transporters of the nerve impulses. So these impulses, they travel back and forth to the brain and the muscles via the spinal cord. So now at each segment of this spinal cord, the left and the right pairs of the sensory and the motor nerves, they will branch out and they connect to the peripheral nervous system. So for me, the idea has been to bring out to you that how important it is to keep the health of the spine, because this is how it is connected. All the nerves are basically coming out through this area, and it is, connected to your nervous system. So I'll explain very little bit also now how the vertebral column. So we'll just zoom in and look at what it is. So now you see in between the 2 vertebrae, you will see that there is an intervertebral disc. Now this soft like jelly structure, it makes the spine flexible. It's also like a shock absorber, when you're moving. So it's like a shock absorber in the body. But when we are sitting in the bad postures, the poor alignment, when the back muscles have become weak because of the sedentary lifestyle, the stress, which Anand has already explained, what happens is that with excessive forward bending or with excessive backward bending in one direction of the spine, the disc may start to degenerate. It may try to bulge out. It will slip out. It may become thin. And that it will completely lead to various types of condition, one of which is also slip disc. So I know, we are talking about general back health, but, we come across slip disc also, which is very common these days. Then what happens when this is slipping out? You can see that there are these nerves that are there, the yellow color things that are coming out. Now you can see when the disc is slipping out, what is happening? It is pressing onto the nerves. And as soon as it is pressing onto the nerves, it sends a signal to the brain. it is causing pain. So these specific nerves, when they're compressed, especially in the L4, L5, S1, it can lead to issues like sciatica, which I will be covering again. It's a very common problem, which I come across very, very, very frequently. But you can now briefly understand why it actually happens. But have you wondered why most of the injuries are taking place in the neck and in the lumbar region? Like you would normally hear people that my cervical, my neck is a problem. Or, my lower back is a problem. There is a problem in the L4. There is a problem in the L5. I had a slip disc between L4, L5 or L5, S1. Now, because there is a maximum mobility in our bodies actually in this region, that's why they tend to wear and tear very fast. So if there is an overstretching, excessive forward bending, excessive backward bending, or with wrong postures, these areas are the ones which are basically getting affected, like the neck as well. So now the common problems, I've just listed a few more. So one is slip disc, the other is sciatica. Then what we see is spinal arthritis. Then is the sacroiliac joint dysfunction. Then certain other conditions of the back where the curvature of the spine is different, like in scoliosis, it could be one directional. Then kyphosis, which could be like a hunched back. Then we see other issues like, the spinal tumors. Then we see osteoporosis, very common as well. Then spinal stenosis, stress fracture, spondylitis, spondylosis, then degenerative disc disease. So many of these we actually see, but I'm not going to be covering because each one of them is specific, but the concept still remains the same, what we have actually done to our back. That is the root cause of the problem, leading to various types of issues, which could be inflammation, which could be degeneration, which could be, the disc slipping out, causing compression to the nerves. So now moving on, I will be covering the sciatica and spondylitis, I think a little bit briefly as well, like I said. So there is this sciatic nerve that you can actually see. So very clearly I've brought out, because a lot of people don't know, they say I've got sciatica. Well, what exactly is it? Now, this is the longest nerve in the body. Like you can see, it is moving. It is moving from the lower back through your hips, buttock, and down to the legs on each side. But usually it would affect just one side of the body. Usually it's the compression in the L4, L5, and S1 is what causes this sciatica issue. But the issue can be resolved in a few weeks, and I'll tell you how. Sciatica pain, some people, when you feel there is a tingling sensation or a numbness, there could be like a burning sensation. All these are signs that, it's a signal that you need to consult someone, or you need to just immediately take care because the nerve is compressing somewhere. So now what is the solution for all of these things? Now, the only solution that we have is management through yoga therapy. You have painkillers, but what painkillers are actually doing is, it is stopping the signal to your brain for that period of time, for as long as the painkiller is effective. But it's not resolving the root cause of the problem, the compression. It's not resolving that, but only the signal to the brain has stopped. So what we need to do is we need to release, we need to relax the muscles. We need to reduce the spasm of the muscles. So Anand explained, in the heightened, awareness, when there is like a lot of stress, what is happening? The muscles are in spasm mode. So we need to relax them completely. And then we need to build the strength into the muscles. These are three things. So relaxing the muscles, building strength into the muscles, because that is what will help to support the spine. And then to improve the flexibility of the spine by reducing the plasticity or the stiffness, the tightness. But how do we do this? So now we look at the practices right away. So now, for example, first I will try to cover the acute conditions. People are in severe pain. They can't even get up. They're absolutely unable to move. So what are the practices that they can do? So I've listed out 5 of these practices. Now, these practices are, again, not designed by me. These are scientifically proven practices designed by the yoga universities, which are research driven and scientifically proven and being used in the yoga hospitals. So I will be demonstrating them. You can take note. But before that, I'll just explain each practice when you're doing. Make notes, but whenever you're doing it by yourself, listen to your body. The most important thing is when you're doing the yoga practice, it's not just random practices. These are not just dynamic movements. Understand the concept behind the practice. If you're having pain when you're doing this, the body is telling you something. As soon as you touch the pain, you're supposed to come out of it. We're not supposed to drag on to the pain. So whenever when the practices that I'm showing you, if you sense any sort of pain, immediately come out of it. You're supposed to touch, sense, come out. But again, what we are trying to do is we are trying and reaching a new edge every time, but slowly. We are not trying to just go down at one go. So
Right.
moving on to the first practice, that's the press and release practice. Now this is a beautiful practice, and I'll start the video. You can have a look at it.
Press and release practice. For this, we'll place a towel or a mat rolled just underneath the back or any place where it is feeling uncomfortable in the back. From here, we'll inhale, press on to the mat or the towel. And as you exhale, you can completely release and relax. Again, inhale and press onto the mat.
Just observe
Inhale
carefully.
and release.
So we are just pressing and we are releasing.
And inhale
Pressing
and press.
and releasing.
Exhale and release. It's a very good practice for acute conditions.
So what we are doing this now, a lot of you might have questions, and we'll take up questions towards the end of this practice, towards the end of all the entire session. So what we are doing over here is when you're putting this, you can put it into the area that is feeling painful. So for people, it could be in different regions. So what you can do is you can roll a towel and you can place it into the place where it is painful. So just gently press onto it and then you just completely release. So stimulate and completely relax. So this can be done even for the cervical region. So you can roll onto the towel and just bring it underneath your neck. You can just gently press and you can release. It's a fantastic practice, but in acute conditions, you have to do this 10 times, 4 times a day. So we'll move on to the next practice. So there are 5 practices for the acute condition. The second one is Pavan Muktasana lumbar stretch. So what do we do in this practice? You can see.
Muktasana lumbar stretch. So from here, bend your knee. So bend both your knees. So in an acute condition, it is important that you bend both your knees. And then from here, with your hands catch hold of your right knee. Interlock your hands at your right knee. And from here, exhale, bring your knee to your chest. Pressing your chest nicely. Yes. Full exhalation. And as you inhale, stretch your hands, straightening your knee, pointing up towards the ceiling. So it's a practice in an acute condition. Now again, exhaling, knee to chest.
I'm taking time to show it to you all so that you can carefully observe everything.
Stretching your hands, knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Again, exhaling, knee to chest.
Pause.
Release.
So now, just a couple of things to note. When you do this practice, just make sure that you're completely relaxed. What we are not doing is we are not lifting our shoulders up. The idea is not, how much you can bring inside. If somebody has a slip disc condition or somebody has any very acute condition, they will not be able to do much. The movement will be very, very restricted. The idea is not that you're completely bringing it down. The idea is you bring it to a point whereby you feel something and then you completely release. Again, press and release. Now, again, it's important because in my regular practice of teaching yoga therapy, I come across this many, many times. Hence, I need to emphasize that please do not try and say, you saw the video and we tried to compress the entire thing. We tried to bring it to our back. It was a little bit of pain that we were feeling, but it was a sweet pain. So we would actually just bring it to the chest. So that's not the idea of the practice. So just bringing it to where you feel you touch the pain and come out of it. And in acute condition, like I said, keeping the legs straight will be very, very uncomfortable. So you'll keep your legs bent. So that's the condition. So we'll move on to the next practice.
Going for Pavan Muktasana. Moving on to the next practice, bringing both your legs together. We'll be going for dorsal stretch breathing. So stretch your hands above the head, place them on the ground. So stretching it above your head. So biceps touching the ears, legs are together. Inhale here. And as you exhale, gently lifting your hands, your neck, and the upper part of your back. Inhale, slowly going down with full inhalation. Bringing your hands down, forehead and back resting on the mat. Take a breath here and then again inhale. And as you exhale, gently lift up till the dorsal region. Feel the stretch.
So you will just observe in this. Now, this is a great practice. With the press and release, we've tried to ease on to the pain. With Pavan Muktasana, we have again tried to completely release the tension in the spine. Now, with this practice, we're working with the upper and the middle back. So the dorsal region, it's the middle back, the thoracic that we have seen. So it's that region. So we are basically working with that. Yeah.
So you can't move your toes.
So you're not
This
supposed to.
will
So
be
in this, yeah, so it's the practice for the upper spine. So it's for the middle and the upper spine. So you're basically getting a full stretch in the spinal region, the upper region. So what we're doing, the lower part of the body just remains completely still and stable without any movement.
but this is going to be tough for people who are senior, who have frozen shoulder or shoulder pain or stuff
Okay.
like that.
So that is right. So if somebody has a frozen shoulder, then they will be able to keep they will not be able to keep the hands above the head. So all they can do is use their upper back. If it is comfortable, again, depending upon the condition, they can just lift it up, come up with the support and down. Otherwise, they can completely avoid this practice. Because if you have a frozen shoulder condition, that's why I've put up the notes on the slide itself, which you can carefully see. So for frozen shoulder, we can go for some other practices. But otherwise, it's a fantastic practice for your upper and your middle spine.
All conditions, they will have to depend on the doctor and their body conditions also. The doctors should also corroborate as to which of them they could do, because it is quite easy and nice to see them, but it is not as easy to do because you people are young. So it is, your body is still pliable, but for people who are little senior or maybe who have more problems, they will have to be a little careful in doing them.
So
I think this we
to
must
that
share.
point, so when I teach actually yoga therapy to people, you'll be actually amazed that, the kind of the age group that we are talking of, who come across these is, from youngsters always, but, to senior people as well. So I come across people who are 60, 70, 75, who are doing these practices at the same time. It's very simple practices. But again, if they have multiple conditions, you need to listen to your body. Like I said, now these practices are simple. Now frozen shoulder is a different condition where you can't lift your hands up. But apart from that, it's actually quite simple practices, very slow paced, very easy to be done even when seniors are doing this practice. See, these are not dynamic practices. The pace that you're looking at is the pace that's supposed to be followed if it is a back pain condition. But if we go make this as a dynamic practices, then those are different things. Those are jerky movements. Those require lots of other details where the doctors need to get involved. But if it's just simple back pain due to an acute condition where you're feeling a lot of pain, you can simply do these practices at home. They're very good practices. I personally teach this on a daily basis to people. It's a very, very common practice that I actually teach to people. So it's not a problem at all. This practice, you can also see it is helping you with your abdominal muscles as well. A lot of people talk about the core, you talk about your abdominal muscles. How do you train them? Now, this is another practice which is slowly training the muscles in your abdominal region, which is also an important region to train for your back as well. Because once your abdominal muscles are weak, we tend to use them, the back takes the hit, and that is also some of the causes for back pain in many people as well.
Yes.
So, but yeah, certainly, you consulting somebody, therapy is always something that you should consult somebody before you do the practices. If somebody who's listening here is interested, I'll be very happy to answer. Otherwise, you just find a yoga therapist near you. There are many in India. Each city has several yoga therapists there. Just find one. If you have any special conditions, please consult, and they will guide you appropriately. So I'll move on to the third practice for the acute condition, which is the folded leg lumbar stretch. Sorry, this is a fourth practice. Folded leg lumbar stretch. So we'll start the practice here now.
Inhale here. And as you exhale, bend your knees to your right side. Move your neck to the left. Now make sure that your hands are not getting lifted. Your arms are nicely placed onto the ground. Again, inhale, come to center. Exhale, bend your knees to the left. Look over to your right. Synchronize the breathing and your movement. Inhale, come to center. Slow movement and exhale, moving your legs to your right, neck moving to the left. Inhale, come to center. Exhale to your left.
So now in this practice, again, to Vinita ji's point, what you can see is Anand, in the video, he's obviously doesn't have any back conditions right now, doesn't have slip disc, doesn't have any other issues. So you can see that the knees are coming down quite a bit. Now, if there is somebody with the condition, what will happen is they will be able to, so suppose this is the knees, they will be able to move down only so much, only so much. They can't move down fully. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that you cannot practice this. It means that that's, you can just bring it up till here and then you come back. So you're inhaling here and then you're exhaling. And then again, you are inhaling.
By slowly doing this, you may probably release and make your muscles a little easier.
Exactly the point, Vinita ji. So what we are coming back to the same thing is the muscle spasm is what needs to be released. Slowly and slowly, you need to reduce the plasticity. You need to improve the flexibility so that there is proper nourishment. Like Anand said, when you are having these hunched back, what is happening? You're squeezing, compressing all of these. So there is no nourishment that's going on over there. So, the cells are dying. So what you need to do is you need to release, you need to allow the blood supply to fully go into the areas. So they revive back and then you can improve the flexibility with these practices. So then, yes, and this is a practice which is giving a twisting effect to the spine. So what we did was the middle and the upper back with the dorsal. Now we are doing the twisting effect with the spine. And then
also the stomach muscles are getting pulled.
Yes, absolutely. So we are working, it's helping in the waist joint movement. You're using the support of your thigh muscles as well. They are getting strengthened as well. At the same time, you're compressing the abdominal muscles as well with the twisting effect. So at the same time, multiple things with one practice is happening. So then on to the next practice, which is the fifth practice for the acute condition, is the Setu Bandhasana lumbar stretch.
Setu Bandhasana lumbar stretch. So for this, just bring both your legs together, fold your knees. Heels and your knees will touch each other. Hands will be by the side of your body, palms facing down. Now inhale, you lift your lower, middle and your upper back. And as you exhale, you can bring your upper, middle and your lower back down on the ground. Now this practice is working more in the lumbar region. So inhale again, lifting your lower, middle and your upper back. Exhale, bringing your upper, middle and your lower back down on the ground. Completely pressing on the ground and release.
So now this practice is a beautiful practice. When you have an acute condition, you can keep your legs 90 degrees if you can. Otherwise, you can be a little bit forward as well. That's not a problem. Your range might be very, very limited. Now I'm talking about a very severe condition. So what I usually see, I'm currently working with 2 people who are on slip disc and I'm working with them. What you normally would see is, this is how you're lying down. You'll be able to lift up only so much. You can just probably have half an inch from the ground, not what you see in the video, but that's fine. That's today. You continue to practice this for, the next 4 days, 5 days, you would be able to see that the range just improves. You'll start seeing the difference yourself, but you'll have to do this regularly again. You'll have to do this a few times in the day, every day, if it's a severe condition.
Do you need to also, have a little oil massage or something at the back to, lubricate or...
And that would be a different thing altogether, Vinita ji. If you have like muscle spasm and, you need to actually release them, Yes, if somebody is trained and, can do that, then it is fine. It's perfectly fine. Somebody who understands, again, you can definitely do that. So the idea is relaxation. If it can be brought through massage, great. Because again,
But
here,
it could aggravate also. So
yeah,
that
so if you
person
don't
has
have
to be.
somebody who's experienced in you, they press onto something wrong. It depends upon the condition as well. If it's just a normal back pain, relaxation and, stress driven, all of that, definitely it'll help a lot. So one has to, understand their own condition and, use the therapy accordingly. So this practice is also a very good practice. But what I just said in the beginning, if it's a lumbar condition, your lower back, then you just keep your feet together. Just keep both of them together. You're seeing the knee together as well. So then the effect will be a bit different than when you keep your legs apart. So this is working directly on the lumbar region. You'll feel it differently when you do it yourself. And again, in this, you can see when you're lifting the back up, you're working on your thighs at the same time, because you can see that the thigh muscles are, lifting up. It's a
Right.
very good practice for all the joints as well in your body. But I'll not get into all of that. So these are the 5 practices which you can actually do for the acute conditions. Now, moving on to sciatica. Now, that is what I wanted to cover as well. So specific practices which are good, especially you've seen that the nerve comes down from the lower back all the way to the feet, tingling sensation, numbness there. So Salabhasana breathing is a very, very good practice. So I'll
Moving
just
on to
show
the
you
next
this. How to.
practice, Salavasana breathing.
So he's lying down in
Both your legs
Makarasana,
together.
crocodile pose.
Stretch your hands forward, make a fist. Keep your thumb inside. And bring it towards your groin region. Support nicely. And we will be going for alternative leg raising here. Keeping your chin on the mat and legs together. Starting with your right side, inhale, take your right leg up. Just make sure that your knees are straight and are not bending. Exhaling down. Inhale, left leg up.
You can see what is happening when you're doing the practice. This was precisely my reason of explaining the anatomy, so that you can see what is happening. You can see now the nerve, when you are moving your leg up, what's happening. You're going on to the lumbar region, you're releasing, you're creating space, slowly, slowly. The nerve was pinching, now you're creating space there. That's what is required. So once the space is created, what will happen? The pressure that the nerve is feeling will get released. And then the pain and the sciatica, you'll come out of the condition. So this
It'll subside.
practice you can do in some time. Yes, you will start seeing the benefit immediately as well at the same time. Obviously, it will take some time. Do it 4 times in a day. You can do 5 rounds, which is 1 left, 1 right, and you can do up to 10 rounds. So that's one of the best practices for sciatica, apart from a couple of other practices. So sciatica that you are seeing also happens, that's the nerve compression. Also, it happens because of the piriformis muscles. So for them as well, I'll show you a couple of practices.
Side leg raising practice. Slowly start to bring both your legs together and then turn to your left side. Keeping your right leg on top, both the legs are straight. You can lie down in this position. As you inhale slowly, lifting your right leg up without bending. And as you exhale, you can slowly start to come down. Synchronize this movement with your breath. You don't need to go very high up, whatever is comfortable. Inhale and coming up.
So side leg raising practice, again, a very good practice. You can do this, 3 times or 5 times. That's perfectly fine on each side. Your hands can be resting comfortably. The idea is that you're again moving. The range can be anything. Just listening to your own body. Moving on to the next practice.
So butterfly stretch.
That's this
In supine position. So bending your knees, and then you can start to bring your legs together. The soles of the feet will touch each other. So in butterfly position. Now as you inhale, you'll start to bring your knees together, pointing up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, you'll slowly start to bring your knees down, opening up into a butterfly. Again, inhale slowly, coming up.
You can see that this is the hip region that's getting affected in this.
Mm.
So, it's a butterfly practice, butterfly stretch is a different practice altogether. I'm not asking you to just start flapping in a butterfly because that's not a good practice for the back. That jerks the back. That's why you're lying down in supine condition and then you are just, opening and then closing with the breath. So that's working on your hips again to ease out in that region. The last practice, which is great for sciatica, is hip rotation. So you can just
Hip
observe this
rotation.
as well.
Bend both your knees. Keep the feet on the ground. And we'll do it with one leg first. So from here, we'll make the rotations from the hip, lifting your leg, straightening your leg up, making circles. So we can do this in clockwise direction for 10 rounds and in the anti-clockwise direction for another 10 rounds. And after the 10 rounds on one side, we'll bring our feet down.
And you can do it on the other side as well. So again, the same thing, improving the mobility around the hip region for the same. Now, there are some other back practices which are great. So I'll just quickly demonstrate them. Now, these are also fantastic practices
Folded leg lumbar
for
stretch.
general back pain.
Bending both your knees. Now from here, take your right thigh on top of your left thigh.
Yeah.
Your hands are going to be at the shoulder level at the same position, palms facing down. Yes. So don't put your heel on your knee. Just make sure that your right thigh is on top of your left thigh. Again,
wherever you can reach the spine.
here. Exhaling, bending your knees to the right. Look over to your left. Keep your eyes closed. Inhale, come to center. And as you exhale, bending your knees to the left, look over.
So now again, practice has to be done at this pace only. You inhale with your full breath, you exhale completely, and then you're twisting again the spine. This is a little bit deeper than the folded leg stretch that we did. Folded leg is when you have like an acute condition, is when you do this. When you start becoming better, you can introduce this cross leg lumbar practice. So this is working through again the entire spine, twisting a little bit deeper. The next practice, which is very good, commonly known as the cat and cow. It's a beautiful practice again for your back.
So from here, come into Vajrasana. Fold your right leg, fold your left leg. Keep one forearm distance between your knees.
You can just observe this.
One forearm in front, one palm up. Yes. Keeping your legs
Just like an animal.
Just like an all four animal, yeah.
Wrist, all in one line. Inhaling, depress.
I don't know what happened. Just a moment.
Look up.
Yeah, okay.
As you exhale, you can round your back.
So you can see what's happening with the spine.
Inhale,
You're working through the entire spine with this practice.
Fully looking up and practice again slowly with your breath. Exhaling, round your back.
Stop correct. So now this practice, you can see somebody who has a slip disc. What I explained before was, you saw that the bulge was coming out. It was out completely, right? So what are you doing? As soon as you're going into the cow pose, which is you're depressing the spine, you're trying and pushing it back in. Like I personally, can speak of people that I have treated of these conditions where they were supposed to be going for surgeries, have had not to go for surgeries by these just simple practices. So these practices, great. Yeah, absolutely. So, conditions of whether it's slip disc, whether it's, bulging disc, the gap that is actually reduced over there, or degeneration as well. So yeah, moving on to the next practice, and I think this is probably the last practice that we will be showing, is Bhujangasana.
Moving on to the next practice, Bhujangasana, breathing. Lying down on your abdomen.
Okay.
Completely relax your back first.
So this is your starting position. You'll relax your back in
From
crocodile
here,
pose.
you both your legs together. Place your palms at your lower rib cage. From here, chin on the mat. Now, as you inhale, slowly lift the upper part of your body above the navel region. Exhaling, slowly coming down. So make
So
sure that
thoracic
your
part.
palms are at your
So it is
lower.
working again through the entire spine as well. You'll
Knee
come
point
up till,
thrust.
depending upon the
Thrust
range
your hands,
that you
elbows
have,
pointing up towards the
you might be able to do again very little only, which is fine. But you can stop here. So what you can see here is what happened in the, no, iske pehle wala slide go. So what happened over here in the Bhujangasana when we did this, you're using the strength of your back. So you're strengthening the back muscles. You know, when I asked you to press the palms by the side, they are just, you're not using the strength of the palms to lift up. What we are doing is we are training our back to lift up. You know, the muscles are getting used to it. So you're building strength here. So improving the flexibility at the same time, using the strength and building it up. So again, the same concept that we have, and these are the practices again, which have been designed by the university, which is what, you know, we are teaching as a part of the back pain. Different conditions have to be applied differently, but just general, you know, to be able to cover in this 1 hour, I've just given an overview, a flavor of understanding, you know, what you need to really be doing. So now I'll just move on. So this is a relaxation, you know, technique. When you are lying down, you can relax like this, you know, with either with legs. It's a great way to relax your spine. So then moving on to next. Now, this is one of the most common issues that we normally see. You know, when we come up, our back muscles are very weak. What we are doing is we jerk and sit up. And that is not the right way to come up and sit. So just have a look at what you should be doing on a daily basis to come up to a proper seated position without jerking your back.
Both your legs together. Take your right hand above the head, left hand to your abdomen. Bend your left knee. Turn to your right side. And slowly, with the support of the palms, push the ground. Come to sitting position.
Okay, so you give the support.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're not doing, here is you're not jerking and just sitting up. The back muscles are weak. So, you know, again, when you're jerking, it's not a good thing for the back. You'll just pull your back muscles.
Both your legs together.
If it's very weak. So now, you know, towards the end of the presentation, I just want to say what you shouldn't be doing, because that's also very, very important. One of the things I've shown you, acute forward bending practices are not good practices for people with back issues. First, train your back muscles, strengthen them, then you can include forward bending practices regularly. Kapalbhati that we know of, you know, very commonly in India particularly, not to be done when you have a back condition, because you can imagine when you are actually doing Kapalbhati, it's a jerky movement for the spine. So not to be done. It might have different benefits, but we don't want to achieve that benefits through Kapalbhati right now. Then Bhastrika as well. It's a jerky movement for the spine, right? So we will not be doing that as well. Then any jerky, any dynamic movements not to be done. Cooling pranayam, I'm not sure if you all are very familiar with. I'm not going to introduce this in this session right now, but cooling pranayam we will not be doing for those who understand. Now, the only thing is cooling. Why? Because muscles are already in spasm. So we don't want to increase the spasm with the cooling effect. So that is the reason why we do not have cooling pranayam when you have severe conditions of the back as well. But again, when you train them, when it's okay, you'll be able to do everything. Deep abdominal breathing is extremely good. You can have Anilom Vilom, you can do that. You can do Bhramari. Those are great pranayam practices to be incorporated. Then moving on to the next slide. That's all. So all our videos are available on this channel, which is the YouTube channel. That's Yoga Library. You can find all the videos here. So Vinita ji, we are done with this presentation. If anybody has the questions, we can take it up, because we've already overshot on the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people can raise their hands, put their questions on the chat if they have anything.
Yes, attendees, you all can ask your questions. Any questions?
All right.
You can, maybe you can unmute them so that they can ask questions.
Sure. We can do that, yeah. So you're getting. So we are just allowing people to talk if they wanted to. I think a few people have already left, but I see some others. So we are just allowing people, in case you all have any questions, please feel free to ask us.
This is less than a year old.
Sorry? Papa ko mat karo.
Anybody who wants to ask a question is free to ask.
So you have to unmute yourself on your own. We have given you the permission because it's a webinar. We've given you the permission. You can just unmute yourself and speak if there is anything that you were to ask. If not, I think nicely described. Thanks to all the members. Okay. Well, you can find all of these practices on the channel. You can write to us as well. If you have any specific conditions, please consult before doing anything. And I'll be very happy, if I can guide you in any way, you can please write to me on my email.
Some donkey kick is helpful to relieve back pain, he says. Amandeep Kaur.
I am not quite aware of that. What does that actually mean?
I have
Donkey
shared
kick.
the feedback link. Kindly fill up the feedback link so that we are aware
What does that mean?
as to what we can do to improve our position, as to what could be the next webinar. Maybe by the month end or the beginning of next year, we will be having the next webinar. And maybe now this time we would be having on our knees or legs, so that we would have covered all parts of the body.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You can let me know, Vinita ji. Sorry, I was just trying to see what donkey kick actually means. Okay, I understand now. We have different terminologies for that. Different places, they describe it differently. Yes, so we also, so better than donkey kick, I would actually say bird dog is a better condition. Now, I don't have a picture of that, but it keeps the spine in a neutral condition. You can have your hands fully stretched straight. So when you're in an all-four position, you can stretch your hands fully straight, one hand straight and the alternative leg completely straight. Now that would be a good one to do to keep your spine neutral. So yeah, just to answer to that, somebody who had said about the donkey kick, I do not know the specifics about
all
it.
said and done, said and done, this should be done under the supervision of
Yeah, absolutely.
a physician or a person who knows it, because we might think it is good for us, but depending on how well our body adjusts to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Vinita ji.
I think I've shared the feedback link. You all can kindly fill this up so that it becomes easy for us to understand.
Yeah. I think that's, I think, what is the ideal type of chair for long hours of sitting? So again, so Nayanji, you've written like, what is the ideal type of chair for long hours of sitting?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like leaning back, like Anand had explained in the beginning as well. So we have these chairs which are designed such that it feels very comfortable to us. It feels really very comfortable when we are leaning back, maybe in the office for long hours. But at the same time, it's not the right alignment for the body. So it has to be such that your spine is straight. So it needs to be such that your spine is not getting out of its normal position. So not leaning back, but a chair which can keep your spine alignment in the correct position.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, not something which is very cushiony as well, like we've explained. You're sitting in a very cushiony chairs. Again, it's not great, because then the distribution of the weight on the spine, on the muscles, is not the same. So it's not equally distributed. So it's not good.
I think a straight back wooden chair is the best.
That's a good that's a good chair. I usually don't come across that, but yeah, something which is hard, that will be actually a good chair to use. These days we do have some specially designed chairs as
Ergonomic
well.
chairs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so they might be good as well, but yeah, something which is hard can keep your spine straight. That is the
What
most
about the
important.
bed? What about the bed that you can use? The the mattress that we use. Can we use those which are hard on one side and little foamy on the top,
Yeah.
which is sold in the market these days for like
Well,
for lumbar support and whatever.
so I don't know again, Vinitaji, what's available now. Since I'm in Singapore, I very rarely come across proper types of beds here. Even though they claim but they are like heavily cushioned. But in India, I do have seen that you have harder,
Mm.
the harder mattresses. Not so hard, but yeah, they're hard enough, which is very comfortable as well. Those are actually quite good for the back. Ideally, again for the yogis, if you really ask me, sleeping on the floor is a great thing. It has
Yes.
equal distribution, equal pressure on the weight. That's perfectly, that's the best if you can. But apart from that,
Ah,
the second best would be,
acha. Hey, बहुत जला ये.
so I think we have unmuted people, so you can see some noises. But yeah, something which is hard would actually be will be the most ideal.
Okay. I think the participants have no more other questions, though we are still having 18 of them right now. We had more than 25 of them at a given point.
Yes.
So I must thank all the participants for having been here with us. I think you all have had a very good session as to understanding how we should take care of our back and how we should practice all this, taking into account that we do need some help locally to do it, whether it be a doctor or a therapist who can help you. These are guidelines. This will be available also on YouTube. You can go and look at it later on also. But I think I must thank uh, Ruchika and Anand for giving us these broad outlines and keeping us updated as to how we can take care of our body without having to do a lot of effort on our part. But all said and done, we must start loving ourselves. I think that is when we will be taking care of ourselves. I think with that, we will end our session for today.
Yeah, this is you order.
Mute kar de, Aarti Patni ko.
Thank you, madam.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Vinita ji. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, participants. May
Thank
you
you
all
very
have
much.
a great new year coming, and maybe forget about what we have had this year. Maybe have a
Yeah.
really looking forward to the vaccine and a better 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and same to you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.